Hi, guys. Welcome back to the Mission Empowered podcast with me, your host, Emily. I hope you're all having a great day. And as always, well, I know it's going to be a bit better after this episode. So let's crack on to it. Today's episode is all about why you keep failing at fat loss. Why can't you achieve what you want to achieve? And by the end of this episode, you are going to have so much knowledge and understanding that you absolutely will be able to go on with a totally different mind frame to achieve what you want, the results that you want. Before we get into this episode, there's two things I want to address that are completely fuck all to do with this episode. So the first one, closing, if you're watching on video, both of them do the video. Excuse me, if you're watching on video, bottom left to me are all my summer clothes. I'm going on holiday next week, girls. The summer wardrobe has came out the loft because we only get it down once a year, right? And so it needs sorting out what I'm taking on holiday, but I guarantee there'll be stuff in there that I've had for like probably nearly 10 years that I just won't throw out because I'm like, oh, maybe I'll wear it next year. Oh, I love this. So anyway, that's the first thing. That's in the bottom left. Second things, if you haven't already noticed, but you may have, is my bloody lips. I've been on a bit of a lip journey this year and I just need to cover it. I got my lips dissolved in January. It was one of my things that I always wanted to do after having the baby was to, I've been having my lips done for 10 years. And although they were like never huge, they completely lost all their shape. And so I had them dissolved and I've been having them refilled marginally over like the past 5 months. And today was like the last little bit because of going on holiday next week. So they are swollen AF. Now it's not affecting how I speak. But I did just come in and see my mum and she was like, fucking hell, you look like Pete Burns. I was like, nice one, Ben. Cheers. Like, that is just not what you want to hear. But they will go down. But yeah, they are a bit swollen at the moment. So if you are looking on camera, which I'm now sure everyone is, that is why they look big and juicy, because they're swollen. Okay, let's get into this episode. Now we've got that out the way. I could not address it. So, why you keep failing at fat loss then? We are going to break this down because there's two reasons people fail at fat loss, okay? One is that they don't understand that your fat loss should be phased. And the second thing is they don't understand the expectation of results. They are the two big things. So many of us and girls that I speak to say, right, I want to get more tone. I want to build muscle. I want to be toned. I want to do that. And I want to lose fat. How much fat? I don't know. Maybe a stone, 2 stone, like complete ballpark figures. No idea. They just pick numbers out of thin air. And when we pick goals out of thin air, oh my God, the window cleaners are coming up, girls. I'm going to have to close the blinds. How funny. Hang on. I can't have them looking at me doing a podcast. Right. That's fine. We've closed the blinds now. Oh, joys of not editing your podcast. Right. Lost my train of freaking thought now. They put numbers out of thin air. And the problem with picking goals out of thin air is that you might get 50% of that goal and feel good and feel like, actually, I'm on the right path here. Maybe this is where I'm meant to be. But then you will feel like you're failing because the goal that you set yourself, you haven't achieved. The other thing is picking a goal out of thin air that is absolutely gigantic and is probably going to take you years to achieve, but your expectation is you want to do it in 3 months. Well, you're going to get to the 3 months and you're going to be nowhere near your goal. So you're going to feel like you're failing, and that's when we quit. Okay, so what we're going to break down in this episode is understanding fat loss phases and how to manage your expectations around it. Okay, so first thing we need to touch on then, fat loss and dieting is a phase, not a lifestyle. Now, a little subsection of this is that if you are wanting to lose north of like the 4, 5, 6 stone mark, then the likelihood is it is your lifestyle that you need changing. And when you are doing fat loss, such as the basics of fat loss, so eating whole nutritious food, tracking your steps, doing your resistance training, going to bed early, all of that stuff, it absolutely is lifestyle. What I'm talking about today is if you are looking to lose like the 1 to 2 stone mark and put on some lean muscle and get toned, then the fat loss that you're going to do should be phased. Okay, it should be broken down into cycles of fat loss period, maybe a little diet break, then you go again, then maybe you have a longer maintenance phase where you do focus on building muscle, you take a break from dieting, and then you go again. That is what I'm talking about, and this is exactly what I do with my clients, is that we phase out their journey. And this is why I always say to people, depending on what their goal is, you need to give me 6 to 12 months and I can change your life. I will never get on a call with someone and say, I'm going to change your life in 5 weeks, in 6 weeks, in 12 weeks, because you will learn substantial habits in that time, but it takes longer to get results and the phases aren't long enough. So let's break the phases down then. So a fat loss phase, we are talking about being in a calorie deficit, hitting a certain number of workouts, doing steps, maybe adding in some cardio, something like that. Like strategy wise, this is probably going to look maybe up to about 16, 20 weeks. Okay. In that phase though, you might have weekends where you are away on a girls' trip, you're away with your partner, you are on holiday, whatever, and you're implementing diet breaks within that 16-week phase. Okay. When anyone does sort of like, if I have ever had my clients that don't have social occasions on and they really want to knuckle down and throw 100% at it, I normally implement a diet break or a maintenance weekend around about 8 weeks, because being in a calorie deficit, hitting your steps, smashing your workouts every single day is hard. Okay. And we are human, we are not machines. And what we have to be careful of is our adherence dropping. It's hard to do that. Therefore, there are going to be moments where you slip, or weekends where you're just, your motivation isn't there, or your discipline lacks, or temptation becomes too much. Okay. And so many people, when that happens, because they're not in a phase, they don't have any strategy, that's where they give up. And they don't just give up for the weekend, they give up for weeks and months, and then they start again. So if you have a fat loss phase, I haven't written down an example, but I'm going to try and do it off the top of my head. So let's say I've got a client and the big goal is that they're getting married in 6 months' time. Okay, not 6 weeks, 6 months' time. So I will say, right, well, that's our big end goal. We're now going to break it down into phases. So tell me, what social occasions have you got coming up? And this might be like the hen do, or a bride fitting session, or with the bridesmaids, something like that, like a celebratory occasion. So I can then say, right, well, we know that is in 7 weeks. So let's have a clear run of smashing everything, holding ourselves to a high standard, keeping ourselves accountable for 7 weeks. And that weekend, that's what we're working to first. And then we'll bring our calories up over that weekend. You can have a bit of when we talk about diet break, this is where we do not press the fucking button, but we bring calories up higher for that weekend. Or we have, we bring calories up high for that weekend, or we take a bit of a rest week out of the gym or something like that. So we do that. And then what that does is it gives us a break from being focused on calorie deficit, and we have a little bit more food. So it reignites our adherence, because again, the longer we diet for, the harder it gets. It doesn't get easier. It's easier at the beginning when your motivation is high, when you're gunning for it. 7 weeks, 8 weeks down the line, and you've been doing the same thing, the same training, the same steps. Like, girls, this is what it takes to get results. Repetition, consistency. That's when things start to drop. So it's important to strategize. Okay, well, I've got a weekend away, and so I'm going to have that weekend, like, I say this, but like off, say this loosely, but you still don't press the fucking button. You still track your food. You still maybe do your steps, but maybe you don't train that weekend. Maybe you are a little bit more relaxed around foods and you have a few more calories that weekend just to give it a little bit of a let up. And then you come back in for the next phase. Okay? But strategizing your phases in fat loss it's how empowered get results. Like I said, and this is the power of having a coach as well, is that you need someone to help strategize, to keep you accountable when you're having a shit week 5 weeks in and you don't want to do the thing. It's having a coach saying, come on, we've got 3 weeks to go, and then we're having more calories, then we're having a deload from training, then you've got your little holiday or whatever it is. Okay, but having someone in your corner to keep them standards high is what gets results. Okay, so when we look at phases, and like I said, we've probably 20 weeks. What's that? I think pretty sure that is about 6 months. Let me just do 20 divided by 4.5 equals 4.5 months. Okay, so did that seem right? How many weeks in a month? Like 4 or 5, isn't there? Yeah, 6 times 4 weeks equals 24. So about 5 months then, right? After that 5 months, I would highly recommend. So if you've done like little weekends here and there, after that 5 months, I'd recommend, having a real good stint off, whether it's like a week, 2 weeks, a month. If you've got more fat that you want to lose, you need that time away from dieting to recalibrate your brain, to recalibrate your motivation levels. Okay, you cannot just keep going and going and going and going. We don't have the adherence in us because we are human. I say this so many times on this episode. You are human. You are not a machine. You can't program yourself to keep doing the same things. There are going to be things that let up, okay? But having strategy and small goals in place to work towards is what's going to get you 6 months, 7 months, 12 months down the line to that big result, okay? When we look at phases then, how long should a fat loss phase be? So the minimum I would recommend that you do a fat loss phase for is 8 weeks. If you want to see a bigger difference, minimum 8 weeks, and that is showing up every day, 7 days in and out, hitting it, okay? You will get a big enough transformation to see a difference. Now, personally for me, I've just done a massive one because I've been pregnant, but pre-pregnancy, right? I would only diet for 8 weeks if I was like going on holiday or just wanted to trim up a little bit, because I know that I can show up 100% for 8 weeks. It's hard and it requires discipline, but I know I can do it. And I would rather do 8 weeks of showing up hard and disciplined rather than 16 weeks of showing up at 60% because it's longer. I'm just like, get in, get the job done, move on from it, okay? The problem that we have is, and even so, by the way, 8 weeks, I'd probably be looking at me to lose between 7 to 10 pounds, probably a little bit more in the beginning with water weight and then slower as the weeks go on. The problem that we have, people want to lose 2 stone and they're like, right, well, it's May, I've got a holiday in August. Well, it's not going to happen. Like, it might happen if you do unsustainable things, like shit things and like extreme things, but all that's going to happen when you come back off that holiday, you're going to put that 2 stone back on, if not more, which I'm not about. So you need to strategize, right? And you need to then move that expectation. Like, if you're listening to this podcast now thinking, I've got a holiday in 8 weeks, okay, move your expectation to losing up to a stone. Okay. And I say this because on the Fit and Six, the Fit and Six is only a 6-week fat loss program, but we're all about giving tools in there and showing you what it takes to get the big transformation. But still, in that 6 weeks, we have people lose a stone. Okay. So I'm not saying it's not doable, but it does depend. It's circumstantial, how much weight you've got to lose, how adherent you are. But again, with the Fit and Six, I never speak about, at the end of the Fit and Six, you're going to have this massive, dramatic transformation. That is not what it's about. The Fit and Six is about 6 weeks of building healthy, sustainable, life-changing habits. Fat loss will be a product of it, but then it also gives you the opportunity to go and get them transformation, with that big transformation, with the knowledge and the skill and the accountability that you get in 6 weeks, okay? But it's never about who's getting the best transformation in 6 weeks, because to get an absolutely obscene transformation in 6 weeks, you need to be doing unsustainable actions, and I am not about that vibe, okay? So, just in a nutshell then, we've covered phases. So if you're listening to this thinking, I have never phased my fat loss, boom, problem solved. You now need to go away and even message me and I can do it for you as your coach. Or if you are just listening to this for help and knowledge, you need to go away and structure, right, well, what's my end goal? Okay, and Em said, 6 to 12 months for like a big transformation. Okay, so that takes me to next year, or that takes me to 6 months' time. And then reverse engineer, let me break that down into 8 weeks, or maybe you've got a 10-week stint that you can do. And then you'll have a little weekend. Diet breaks and going to maintenance normally fall around about the 8-week mark, because it is normally when Easter is, Christmas is, a weekend away is, a social occasion is, okay? They normally fall in quite nicely. If you've got a social occasion every single weekend, though, you have got decisions to make, because you cannot go out on the piss or go out and eat multiple times every single weekend if you want to get some serious results in that time. Okay. But like I said, pick the big events that you're working towards. It'll give you motivation to keep going then. Okay. So yeah, with your phases, you need to sort out your fat loss phase, and then you need to look at, well, two things that happen when we diet for a really long time. So the first one is metabolic adaptation. This one rarely occurs. It's normally the secondary, which is the biggest one. Should I talk about that first then? Okay, let me tell. I've already started, so we'll carry on. Metabolic adaptation is your body adapting to lower calories. Okay, so what that means is, when you've been dieting for a long time on lower calories and having heavier output, your body's been in a deficit for a long time, things start to slow down. Okay, like you'll stop twitching as much. Okay, so like your body burns calories like I am now, using my hands, tapping my feet, having the energy of where you go, you're downstairs, you go, oh, I've lost that upstairs, I'll just run up and get it. Metabolictation is stopping you do that, because it's trying to preserve as much energy as possible, because you've been in deficit for a long period of time. So you might be downstairs watching the telly and need a wee. And usually your body will go, oh, go on then, upstairs, go for that down. But what your body will do is go, oh, can't bother. I'll wait till the next advert. Before you know it, an hour's passing, you've still not been for that wee. That is your body preserving energy. Blinking, twitching, using your hands, just fidgeting in general, your body pulls all that down. Okay, so you're not going to be burning as much energy as if you went in a calorie deficit. Okay, your body can also, well, no, that's it. I'm going to zip it at that. Okay, that is very unlikely to be the problem of what happens at the end of a diet phase, or if you've been dieting for a long time. The second thing, which is the most common thing, is your adherence drops. That means you're not as tight as tracking your calories. You're not as, what's the word? You're not putting as much effort in when you do your steps. You're just slogging around rather than, brisk walk, yeah? You stop chasing the gains in the gym. You're just showing up and you're like, oh, I'm so tired, can't be bothered. Can't remember what I did last week, so I'll just do this week. You're skipping gym sessions. Yeah, I think I said this before. You're loose on tracking. Yeah, it's about 200 grams. Okay, these things are the most common downfalls of why people fail at fat loss when it comes to dieting phases. It's not, and so many people, and I hear this all the time, and it's a subconscious thing, it's not a conscious thing, saying low calories don't work for me. Oh, by the way, this is a load of bollocks that people talk about on Instagram, coaches, they will say, your body's not losing weight on 1,200 calories because metabolic adaptation. 90% of people that does not apply to. It doesn't. Because 90% of people just get shitted at adhering to their diet and their exercise and step goal. And bear in mind, I'm a coach, so I see this and I do know, okay? But it's why I talk about why it's important to implement diet breaks and phases, okay? If you've been on a diet for the whole of this year and you've lost 4 pounds, we now know you've not phased it properly. And all that's probably happened is that your adherence has dropped because you've been bored of being on a diet. You've been bored of not seeing results. So you just think, oh, fuck it, I'll just have that. And you're like, no, I'll get back to it. So you feel like you've been on a diet all the time, but actually you haven't been adhering to it all of that time. And this is why I believe so much in what I do as a job as well, because I don't want women to feel like they've spent decades on a diet, because you don't need to. Honestly, 12 months, I put money on it. I change your life because of all of these knowledge and tools that we have when it comes to strategizing fat loss and phases. It works, and you can absolutely achieve results of your dreams in 12 weeks. In 12 months. Damn it! In 12 months, okay? Right, so whereas again, let me circle back to these notes are not enough today. So we talked about phases, timeline, metabolic adaptation. Right, okay, so adherence dropping, that is the biggest one, but that's where I was going with it, wasn't it? that's why it's important to do it in phases, because having a short end goal of having a bit of let up will keep your adherence high. Like when you get 6 weeks in, 7 weeks in, and you're like, oh, really, really want, to go and eat at that restaurant. In your head, if you have to go, but I've got another 6 months till I can go there, you're not going to do it. But if you go, actually, in 2 weeks' time, I am going there and I'm going to have whatever I want on the menu, I can do this, because 2 weeks isn't that long. Okay. And because you're only 6 weeks into your diet, you're probably seeing results. You're probably seeing the scales drop, clothes starting to fit better. That motivation should you've got two things. That motivation of things happening should spur you on, but also the mini goal of 2 weeks away should also keep you going. So this is why phases work when it comes to fat loss. Okay. Right. So let me just carry on with the phases and then we'll talk about expectations of them. So we've covered why we do phases, because of metabolic adaptation, but most commonly adherence dropping. That's why we need phases. You would then implement either a diet break, and this can be, like I said, a maintenance weekend, just a few days of higher calories. Again, this is goal dependent, how quickly your goal is coming, how long term it is. But you can have a diet break for a week. You can have a diet break for a whole month. You can go into a reverse diet, which we'll talk about in a minute, a build and muscle phase, and then go into a fat loss phase again. Okay. This is the joy of working on your physique, is it actually doesn't ever have to end. So let's say that let's do two scenarios. First scenario, you want to lose 2 stone. You've lost a stone, okay? But your adherence was dropping a little bit, and I've done this with plenty of clients. Things are maintained. You think you've been in a diet, but everything's maintained, so your adherence is dropping. You know that you're not sticking to your calorie deficit. So then it's worthwhile to say, look, let's take a break from dieting. Let's do 1, maybe 2 months, okay? We're going to do 2 months tracking at maintenance, getting your enjoyment back of going to the gym, getting your energy levels back up, and just having a little bit of break mentally from dieting. And then after 8 weeks, we'll go back into another fat loss phase, and we'll get that stone off, within the next, I don't know, depends on 10 to 16 weeks, okay? In your head, your goal's already half achieved because you've got a plan in place. But taking that diet break for 4 to 8 weeks is the game changer. And people really struggle because they're like, I don't want to maintain. Yeah, but you're not losing weight because your adherence is gone, because you're fucking human. So you need it. By the way, this is how I coach you. If you're on the fence about coaching with me and you want a bit of this is how it goes. So you need it. And I will tell you as a client, look, you need this. It doesn't mean we don't focus on anything. We're now going to see strength go back up, energy go back up, mood go back up, motivation go back up, okay? It takes time to do that. It takes food to do that. And then you come back in, you've had your little break, all guns blazing, you get that stone off. You are not wasting months and years trying to get that stone off, which is what you were doing before. So that's your diet break if you want to go back into fat loss. We now go into, right, I've sort of achieved fat loss. I'm still not super happy though, because I want to feel more toned. Like, I'm fitting into all my clothes fine. I feel healthy, but I want to be more toned. Okay, so you finish your fat loss. You need to go through reverse diet. Okay, so a reverse diet has 2 needs. 1, physiological, and 2, psychological. Again, I think I've done a podcast on this years ago, but a reverse diet is where you finish your fat loss calories and all your cardio and all your steps and all the output that you're doing to get to the position that you want to finish fat loss in. And it's a process of 4 to 6 weeks of slowly bringing your calories up, or moderately slowly bringing your calories up to maintenance, okay? Because remember what I said at the beginning of this episode, fat loss is a phase, it is not a lifestyle. Let's say your fat loss calories are 1,400 calories. You are not living your life on 1,400 calories. That is not okay. You are not going to thrive on 1,400 calories, okay? So you are going to start to bring your calories up. Now, ballpark figures for ease, I am going to say, right, you finish on 1,400 and we're aiming to get to 2,000 calories, because that for you is, let's say we've worked out all our maths. The maths we've mathing, that is roughly where your maintenance is, okay? So over the next 4 to 6 weeks, we are going to slowly increase your calories up. And again, that's not a set number. This is why reverse diet is important. We are going to slowly increase your calories up, but we are still going to measure what your weight is doing, what your pictures look like, what your measurements are doing, how you're feeling, how your sleep is, how your mood is, how your hunger levels are, okay? And we are then going to increase your calories week by week to stay in line with how you're feeling and to stay in line with your goals. If at some point we get there and your weight is shot up, your waist measurements are shot up, you're not feeling great, okay, then maybe we hold there for a week, let things just realign, and then we'll increase again. That 2,000 calories actually for you might look like 1,850 calories. For someone else, it might be able we go to 2,200. You are person dependent. You are not a machine, okay? That's why it's different for everyone. So many people will ask me, what are my maintenance calories? I don't know. I can give you a ballpark, but I'm not going to say that is it, because again, everybody is different. It depends on how much effort you're still going to put into training, how many steps you're going to be doing a day, how your body is responding, how much lean muscle mass you have, okay? So that's why it's really important to work with a coach when you're doing reverse dieting, because we can check everything, then give our recommendations, and then the following week we check in again and be like, right, okay, this is where we're at. Like, let's try this and see how we get on. So you finish fat loss, you then spend 4 to 6 weeks reverse dieting up, you hit maintenance, great, okay? By the time that you hit maintenance, as I said before, you should be feeling more energetic, absolutely thriving in the gym, PBs coming out your ass, waking up in really good mood, sleep should be really good, digestion really good, you just feel good, okay? Feel great, actually. This is me at the moment after finishing my diet and eating more, is that everything just feels good. That is the point of a reverse diet, because at the end of a fat loss phase, I'm going to be honest, you're not going to feel good. You're going to feel hungry. Energy levels will be low because you've been in a calorie deficit. You're going to feel maybe a bit tired. You're maybe going to feel hungry all the time, okay? A reverse diet takes away all of that if it's done properly. Interject then what people normally do when they finish fat loss and why you keep failing at fat loss. You finish your diet, you got the results you want, you stop. You don't track your food. You don't incrementally increase your calories. You go back because you're like, oh, one donut for breakfast won't hurt. And I missed wearing my watch 3 days this week, Oh, someone's asked me to go for a drink rather than go in the gym. No. Okay. What you do to get your fat loss results is what you need to do to keep them. The only thing that changes is more food. Maybe a little bit less cardio. Maybe a little bit less steps if you've really pushed it. The foundations stay the same. We still have to train hard. We still have to eat whole nutritious foods, because all of this stuff isn't just for physique, it's for health. Said my lips didn't mess up, but apparently did. Okay, everything, the baseline of what we do in fat loss is the baseline of a healthy life. That is what you've got to remember. So if you don't ever sign up with me, working with me, and sign up to another coach, and you feel like this is so fucking unsustainable what I am doing, your results are going to be unsustainable. Point blank. And I would much rather be honest and be an honest coach that says, look, spend a year working with me, 6 months to a year working with me, and we'll get sustainable results from sustainable actions. These habits will become your life and enjoyable. I would rather say that rather than sell you a dream of, I can get you a result in 12 weeks, no problem, and then just throw the kitchen sink at you and you'll hate me forever. Not about that. So reverse dieting then. Just go circle back to that. So reverse dieting, by the end of it, strategically, we've increased your calories and you're feeling good. I said before, though, we do this for 2 reasons: physiological, psychological. Physiological, when you finish a diet, your body is, like I said, sending you really strong hunger signals. It knows it's been in a deficit. It is a bit like, hang on, where's all this fucking stored fat gone? I want to store some fat. Like, it is ready to store fat, okay? And when you just go back to what you were doing before and you wonder why you put the weight on, this is why. When you slowly increase your calorie, I say the word slowly, I don't mean super slow, but when you moderately increase your calories, right, you're sort of tricking your body up to maintenance. Okay, so I'm being really selective with what I'm saying here, because we're not tricking our body. Like, you just give your body time to adjust to going from a low amount of calories up to a higher amount of calories without doing it in one go. Okay, it's not going to shock your body, it's not going to shock your mindset. Okay, by doing it over a few weeks, it's just going to feel not as overwhelming. Okay, from a psychological side, same thing. Actually, probably more so from a psychological side, because there are coaches out there that will take you from fat loss straight up to maintenance. Now, for me, psychologically, working with the hundreds of clients that I've worked with, I know that it's really hard for people to wrap their head around. How can I be eating 1400 one day and the next day eating 2000? Like, I can't cope. It also opens up this sort of free-for-all mindset of, oh my God, I've got more calories. What can I fit in? Rather, when we do it strategically and we still say, look, your primary focus is still on whole foods. We're just going to eat a bit more each week, a bit more, a bit more. By the time you get up to 2000, you're like, oh, I've done this the right way. You're not opening up this free-for-all mindset. Okay, so like I said, reverse dieting is physiological, that we're not going to be putting a lot of fat on straight away from fat loss calories, and also from a psychological point of view, it's not going to be an extreme jump in your mindset. Okay, so you've done your fat loss phase, you've done your reverse diet, you now want to put muscle on. So we're going to go into a build and muscle phase. Caveat: fat loss phases, hell of a lot shorter than a build and muscle phase. Okay, if you want to really change your body shape, you need to be building muscle and in this build and muscle phase for around minimum 6 months. Okay, muscle takes a lot of time to build, girls. When you first start out training, you will get like beginner's gains. So if your body has had no stimulus, it is a lot easier for it to build muscle quicker at the beginning of your journey. Okay, if you've been training for a while and you want to put more lean muscle on, let's say you want bigger glutes, because that seems to be like a thing, you need to then give yourself, right, for 6 months, my sole purpose is going to be eating enough to grow my muscle, because muscles can't grow in a deficit unless you're at the very, very beginning of your journey. Muscles can't grow within a deficit. And I'm going to lift heavy in the gym and I'm going to PB every week. Like, that's it. That's all you need to show up and do for 6 months. And then when you have done your muscle building phase, however long that may be, then you should go, right, now let's do a fat loss phase and see what I look like underneath compared to the first time. And that is how you strategize your fat loss and your results, is that it isn't just as easy as going, I want to lose weight. How much? 2 stone. When by? Don't know. Okay, have you got any socials coming up? Maybe. Yeah, no plan, no structure, no organisation, no phases. You're going to fail. Okay, so just before I finish on, I'm just going to touch on, actually, I should have done this before, but it's okay. We're just going to roll with it. What I just said then about building your muscle and dropping and then going into another fat loss phase, like, this is how people enjoy the process, is that it becomes like a constant in their life of bettering themselves, and that you'll see and hear people, oh, I'm doing a bulk, I'm doing a cut. It doesn't have to be that extreme. Okay, it could be that actually I want to build a little bit of muscle, I'm going to spend time doing that. But because we know that phase is 6 months upwards, you need to enjoy the process. You need to see the gym not as a means to an end, but as part of your life, because it has to be a constant. That 6 to 12 months of you building muscle, it's going to be part of your life for that time. Like, why are you not trying to enjoy that journey? And that's why not wishing the process away and being committed and being consistent is really, really important when it comes to getting results. Because if you're just trying to wish to the end goal, the likelihood of you keeping them results is probably minimal as well. So you need to enjoy the journey. So that was just, I just wanted to cover that in the phases. Now, let me just go back to then phase and fat loss, is that when you are looking at phase and fat loss, you do need to look at what socials you've got in, what holidays you've got in, how is work looking for you in that time? Are you going to be committed to go to the gym 3 to 5 times a week, every single week? Or is there, 1 month where actually 3 weeks out of that month, you can't get to the gym because you're away on a work trip or whatever, because that is then going to dictate your expectations, isn't it? So maybe that month you're not going to achieve as much as you achieved in the month before because you can't get to the gym, or you've got, let's look at socials that you're choosing not to waver on. So imagine you've got like husband's birthday one weekend, best friend's hen do, and then someone else's wedding. And all of them things for you are hell yes events. They're really important that you go, that you enjoy them. You want to have a drink on them. We know we don't have to have a drink, but you want to. You want to enjoy the food. You don't want to, pick the diet friendly option. You just want to go and enjoy it. Then you need to be okay with the expectation of that month. The best possible outcome is probably going to be that you maintain. And you need to be okay with that, because what's your other option? I'm not okay with it. I want results. You're not going to get them. So you're going to whack your head against the wall again, aren't you? Because you're going to have the expectation of getting results. Your actions aren't going to meet your expectations. You're going to feel like you failed. At least if you set the expectation and the goal as, okay, I know that I'm in a 16-week fat loss phase, and this month I've got 3 back-to-back social occasions. That month I'm going to maintain. That's my goal, and then I'll pick it up. You can achieve that. And if you can achieve it, then you're going to feel successful. That is then going to give you positive motivation to keep going. And that is what we're all about. Okay? Right. I feel like I've covered loads. So I'm going to do a quick summary for me and for you. This episode encompassed understanding why you keep failing at fat loss, because you're not phasing it properly and your expectations maybe don't meet the timeline or the actions that you're doing. So remember, fat loss should be a phase, and it should be strategized, and looking at your socials and your life within that to then set your expectation of your outcome goals. You need to understand that your motivation is going to be higher at the start of a fat loss phase, and it's going to be harder at the end of a fat loss phase. Okay, so therefore implementing when I need a diet break, when do I need a maintenance weekend, you need to be in charge of that. You need to strategize them in, because otherwise all that's going to happen, things are going to slip over the weeks and you're not going to achieve it. Okay, and then remember, the biggest thing when it comes to achieving your overall results, you need to reverse diet out of it. Do not just stop, because you'll probably end up back at square one. Okay, this was a lot. I know it was. If you need help with this, girls, drop me a message. This is what I do. I strategize your phases. I set your expectations. I set out the plan to meet them expectations. And this is how we achieve empowered results. So if you need my help on this, you can always drop me a message over on Insta at _em.powered, and I will help you out. Okay. Hope that went down well. As always, please send me a message. Let me know how this episode landed. Was it scatty? Was it okay? Because I feel like it was a lot of information. And any questions you've got on it, I'm always happy to help answer. All right, guys, have a great day. I'll see you next time with a little bit of a smaller lip, hopefully. Love you, bye.